Today we're just going to do a brief review of covalent bonds. And covalent bonds we've talked about a little bit in class, but we've also done ionic and metallic, and so now we're just going to finish up with covalent. So a covalent bond is when you have two atoms that share electrons. So co implies sharing, and valent means that they're sharing the valence electrons, which, if you remember, are the ones in the outermost shell. And a covalent compound, therefore, is one that is made up of atoms connected by covalent bonds. All right, we also call these molecules sometimes. All right. Now, if you remember from class, when we did this with ionic compounds, the object was always to get the outer shell full, to have a complete octet. And the same goal is what we have in mind here with covalent bonding, but in this case, transferring electrons won't do the job, and so they need to share. All right, and so in this case, we have chlorine here, and each chlorine molecule has 7 valence electrons, and so they each bring forward 1 valence electron that they can share, and then that gives them each 8. All right, that pair of electrons is what we call the bonding pair. It's the 2 electrons that are involved in the covalent bond, and that's the one that's shared between the 2 nuclei. The non-bonding pairs are other valence electrons, like these on both of the atoms, that are not involved in bonding, hence the non-bonding pair, but they're pairs of electrons that are still in the valence shell. When we have 2 electrons that come together to make a bond, like here, and like what we saw on the previous page, that is called a single bond. So a single bond is sharing 1 pair of electrons. A double bond is when we share 2 pairs of electrons in order to make the octet full for each of the atoms. All right, and we can write that as 2 lines, as shown here, with the oxygens. All right, and then if an atom needs 3 electrons, then, or 3 sets of electrons, then we can actually share up to 3 pairs, which is 6 electrons, to give us a triple bond. And again, you would write that this way, as 3 lines, or as 3 sets of dots. Either one is acceptable. All right, so that sums up our discussion of covalent bonds. And the next thing that we're going to cover, that we're going to start tomorrow in class, is going to be learning how to write these structures that I've shown here with the dots that show how the bonding occurs. And they're called electron dot structures, or sometimes Lewis structures.